Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Anna from Explore Your Shadow, and I have my favorite guest here, Kashish. And we're going to be
Hi,
talking
Anna.
about a very hello. We're going to be talking about very delicate subject today. We've
Yes.
no plan, so we're just going to head on and just chat. And there's actually so many things that we already spoke about. And I think they're super important for everyone, for men, women, everyone else. And yeah, we
Yeah.
actually touched upon this subject last time when we were recording the podcast for the family constellations. They were like, we really need to come back to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about pretty much the emasculation of men in the world, or the lack of, I would say, positive masculinity. Let's say that we don't want the toxic masculinity back, because we had plenty of that in like baby boomers generation, and now it's kind of like it just the pendulum kind of switched back. And also, like, I've noticed that women also are not really happy in the society nowadays. And I love that you're in India, so you have a completely different view probably of how things are there, and which I don't know. And then I'm here in Ireland, and I'm originally from Croatia, so I have this kind of European view. So I'd say like it's probably not the
Yes.
same around the world, but yeah, we can at least talk about Europe and India.
Of course, of course. And I think a lot of, uh, more or less, I think a lot of things are still quite a bit similar. Uh, of course, certain things could be very different, but if you look at the larger, if you take the overview of it, then I'm pretty sure that a lot of things are similar, and
Mm,
they do need a lot of attention. Given the kind of times that we are living in, the way uh, countries, societies, ideologies are developing. So one can actually look at the systemic impact on women and, of course, now on men as well, how
yeah.
things are shaping up. And also, of course, because there are so many other elements to it, many layers, many layers to it.
Yeah, yeah. I've been looking at this from like a perspective of like a generational trauma for a while.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so looking at, for example, my generation were like kind of millennials, and then Gen Z that came after us. Before us, it was the baby boomers. And every generation had
Yeah.
something. Generation before that had something as well. And it feels like every generation was trying to adjust and make things better.
Yeah.
But often,
Yeah.
by making things better in one area, they made things worse in another. And this is almost like the essence of trauma,
Yeah.
when it's not like fully recognized, when it's
Hmm.
not fully healed in the right way. You always feel like the shadow
Hmm.
side
Hmm.
pops up somewhere, and it
Hmm.
becomes
Hmm.
very clear what the shadow is. So we had the shadow of the
Yeah.
masculine in a form of toxic masculinity, and that was very evident in like kind of baby boomers generation and the one before. There was a lot of like
Yeah.
violence, a lot of like, toxic masculine trait, and
Yeah.
nobody liked that. And then the
Hmm.
generation like that was my generation, we tried to fix it, but we actually went into the
Yeah.
shadow feminine area, where it's like
Yeah.
a lot of manipulation, a lot of dumb, like, taking over the shadow side of the feminine. And now we're
Yeah.
kind of like there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting, because
Indeed.
I was a big feminist myself when I was a teen, and I'm not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's a
I'm all about
very,
equality.
very,
Yeah.
that's a very radical statement to say or to make out there in today's world. But I think, Anna, it's a very natural progression that I think you have experienced with yourself. Uh, and more, I think more or less, if you are an empath, or let's say you are a little sensitive to change around you, you can see when things are going out of balance, when you are unlike others maybe around you, you yourself are just touching the extreme end of something. And that's when, you just get shaken up and then, oh, I think there's something off here. Something is not right. Because your body speaks to you somewhere. Your senses, they tell you that, okay, uh, this has come to an extreme end now. And from
Hmm.
here, if I go any further, it's going to become all the more destructive. So, as they
Yeah,
say, extreme of anything is bad or is unhealthy, is
exactly.
destructive. And I think that's what is has happened and is happening uh, everywhere in the world today. That
Yeah.
we have, uh, if you're talking about feminism, it started with a very different idea. And again, the idea which was rooted
Yes.
in the way the society was developing in the Western world, more in the Western world. And from there, it
Mm.
started and went on across the globe. And as some positive things came up, over time, we are actually seeing in front of our eyes today that it has taken a very vicious form. In a way that,
Mm.
again, the shadow, the dark aspects of it are coming alive all the more in the face. And it's sad
Shadow
to
of
see. It's
feminine
sad to see.
is real.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And
If the
it's
shadow of
not only in
masculine
love
has been,
relationships.
yeah, yeah. I was just saying that, if the shadow of masculine has been toxic, the shadow of feminine is the next toxic. It's sad
Exactly.
to see because
Yeah.
see, be it anything, taking sides, I feel, taking any side is not going to work. If we want to really move forward as a constructive, wholesome society or a country in ourselves or, with together, you will have to bring all in balance and then only a heart can form.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if this side goes here, the heart breaks. Or if this side
Mm.
goes here, again the heart breaks. And that's what is
Exactly.
happening with the with men and women today, that we are going into either, first we were here and now we are going completely here, and in this tussle this heart is breaking again and again like this or completely
Mm.
like this. And in such a separative atmosphere, dissociative atmosphere, it becomes very difficult to uh, find healthy relationships, to create healthy relationships, for a long term,
Yeah.
or in many different ways, many different
Yeah.
ways.
What I think happened when I was, let's say, when I was a kid, and it started with the whole like empowerment of women, which I loved. I was the first one to jump on that train because it's what we wanted at that stage was equality. We didn't want to take over the men's roles, and that was never the idea behind it. There was never like, oh, there's no space for men anymore because we can do it by ourselves. It was like we just want the same rights. We have want the same rights to
Hmm.
vote. We want the same rights to choose our life,
Yes,
to choose education.
yes,
It was something that was supposed to be there anyways. And
yeah.
then I think because there was so much rage kept in women for such a long time, it just went into a completely different direction, where now it was like we need to punish men. and and I feel that this energy is taking over now, especially like, whoever is like showing up any kind of masculine trait, even especially the good ones, we're like, no, 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 bad boy. And no, it's really that is really happening. And then you have this whole horde of women now, because I've seen that on the internet, I've seen it in the therapies, and I've seen it everywhere, that are overwhelmed because they took on too much on themselves. They were like, we can do everything now. And now we're all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
both women and men at the same time. And they're not happy with their
Mm.
partners because they're like, he's not doing anything for me. Or like they can't find the partners because they're like looking for something, you know, that almost doesn't exist, and in a way that would only be able to exist if you let it exist. So it's like a catch-22. So in order to have a man beside you, you need to let him be a man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And I've seen more and more of that, and that's why I said, like, okay, like we need to stop with this toxic feminism, because there's not going to be any men left, and it's getting really
yeah,
bad because
yeah.
generation of my mothers that were deeply frustrated with men in their lives. So a lot of them were alcoholics, a lot of them were abusive, were raising the sons to literally hate themselves for being men.
Hmm,
So all this
hmm.
frustration that they had with the husbands just poured into the sons. And now
Yeah,
you have the entire generation of men that even feel that being a man is something bad
yeah, yeah,
and carry that
yeah.
guilt. Yeah, it's
Hmm,
crazy. And I see that unfolding more and more. So more and more in therapies, I'm getting this almost guilt that the sons are carrying for the fathers.
hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Even I have observed this also with some of the male clients that I worked with, the men I have worked with, and I think I have also experienced it somewhere, more or less,
Mm.
which I realized only when I actually entered, when I started training in constellation work, studying about it, is when I started to realize that what's happening is somewhere unconsciously, I am going and standing with my mother, and I'm taking my mother's side. So, what
Mm.
happens is when you start taking sides, you are you cannot be in the center.
Yeah.
You cannot have an equal view of life, an equidistant, or let's say an equitable view about life, a balanced view about life. So when this was happening, I realized how much of a resentment was getting developed in me towards my father.
Mm.
And that, of course, there are other layers to it, because uh, there are their own relationship dynamics as well, the mother and father's relationship dynamics. And if you are not even taking the side of mother or father, inadvertently, if the relationship dynamics are shaky or going through a rough patch, it is going to trickle down to the children. And
Yes.
that is why again and again, if you remember, our elders, grandparents, great grandparents, they would always emphasize not to fight in front of children. You know, they
Mm.
would tell the newlyweds, don't fight in front of children. You know,
Yeah, we had the same in
don't they
Croatia.
or
Yeah.
they would if yeah, if they would fight, they would tell the children go out of the house. They would send them
Yeah.
away. Why? Why would they do that? Because they understood what impact it has on a child's memory, intelligence, and
Mm.
the mind itself.
Mm-hmm.
When the child sees all of that happening again and again in their house, parents arguing, fighting, throwing things at each other, this and that, the abuse going on one way or the other, the child starts to take sides. Or if he or she does not take sides, then of course, the child is going to reject his or her parents completely, outrightly.
Yeah.
And especially in case of boys, in case of men, if you talk about, uh,
Yeah.
the first person that they disconnect the most with is the father.
Yes.
First and foremost, they inadvertently land up taking the side of mother more in most cases. And when they do that, they are they have become so sort of enmeshed with the mother that now they cannot look at the father. That space that father creates or gives or provides, they are unable to absorb that space, right? And remember, we are 50% father, 50% mother.
Mm.
Rejecting anyone is becoming merged with that more and more, getting
Yes.
entangled with that more and more. As they say, what you resist, it will always persist. So the
Yes.
more you resist your father, the more his anger, his entanglements, they get strengthened and strong within you. So now, as a man, as a young guy or a teenager, what happens is that you start hating your father, and you are so you're so much leaning on to your mother that your own individuation becomes difficult to happen. And when
Yeah.
that happens, that's where we get all these issues where uh, men become more emasculated. They find it
Mm.
difficult to uh, find a partner, or let's say trust, love, right?
Yes.
Or even for that matter, show up fully as a man. And it's not just about a romantic relationship. People think that it's only about a romantic.
It's about
Even in
everything.
general, if a yeah, yeah, yeah. So even in general, if a man or if a guy in that condition, if he is more or less emasculated in any which ways, even in general, if he has female friends, relatives, cousins or sisters, he will be unable to fully and freely express his manliness, his masculine his traits,
Mm.
attributes. And the women or the woman might find that what's wrong with this guy? There's nothing wrong with this guy. The problem actually is that he is struggling to fully express, he's scared to fully express his
Yeah.
masculinity.
Yeah.
And why? Because he's been conditioned that way.
Mm.
He's been told again and again that if you be a man, I'm going to destroy you,
Mm.
or he has somehow taken this message from his ancestry or his parents that, being a man is something so bad, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so hurtful that, I mean, the hearts are going to break one day or the other. You can't help it. And
Yeah.
this emasculated man or guy or boy will become more and more full of anger and resentment.
Yes.
And one day, what happens is this resentful, emasculated, resentful guy is going to take extreme measures in his life. Either he's going to become an addict, or he's going to try and take his life.
Yeah.
People
Or
think that
something
these are very
worse.
simple. Yes, yes, yes. Either or of course, he'll take somebody else's life. I'm not saying everybody has to do it or is doing it or will do it, but it leaves that kind of gap for such
Yeah.
possibilities, for such dark possibilities to emerge.
Emotions bubble up. Emotions bubble
Yeah,
up, and they will
yeah,
have to get out at some point. There's
yes,
no other way
yes,
to do it. In
yes,
psychology, we
yes,
say mother is the most important person in a child's life for the first 3 years. And then father is very important after that, because the father is going to be the one to stop mother from over sheltering the child. And this is very
yeah,
important for sons, because the father is going to be like, okay, stop, you need to let him go, you need to
yeah,
let him experience the world, you need to let
yeah,
him run and get injured, like get a scratch. It's not the end of the world, because us, like, mothers can't control themselves. That's why
yeah,
fathers are there to actually stop us.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
in a
Yeah,
way, and there's more and more this kind of marriages that fall apart, and there is only mother is taking the role of both mother and father in children's lives, and
yeah,
you see more and more on that. Or I've seen a lot of like examples where the child is being raised by the mother and grandmother. So imagine two women raising a son. It's not like they want to do a bad job, it's just they don't know how to do it better. And
yeah,
often the father is either gone, or it was never even there, or just abandoned the child. And of course, like, if you're a male child raising up in those kind of circumstances, it's like, first of all, you don't have any kind of male role model to start with. There's no one
yeah,
there. I mean,
mm,
children are super resourceful. They find role models even in neighbors or teachers,
yeah,
or
yeah,
they are able to, but there's no real role model, and the boys are completely lost. Like, what do I what does a man even mean? What being a man means.
Hmm.
I've seen more
Yeah.
and more of that. And, the society and the media is telling them nothing. We're not getting anything from the media at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what has also happened is, over time, if you look at it, uh, men are not just, let's say, it's not just the, let's say, houses or the women around who may have given this signal to men over time. I'm talking about the extreme part of feminism, or such an ideology. Uh, while it overly advocates for women, it has also somehow created a window for corporates, for media, for even governments to create such policies, such editorials, and such kind of messaging that is somehow leaning more onto women. And a lot of women are not realizing it even today,
Hmm.
that a company is using their issues to feed them products and
Of course.
services which they probably even don't need in the first place. You know, the moment there is Women's Day, you will see hundreds of companies coming out with so many different kinds of offers. Today, this company is coming up with this kind of a discount, and that clothing company is coming with that type of discount. Oh, get your girl gang, and we're going to do this and that. I know because I've been a part of for some time when I started with my career, I've worked in some little bit in media sales, and I've seen even in market research
You
and
can
co
sell
so
anything
I
to a
know how
single
brands.
woman. No, you can sell
Oh
anything
yes,
to a single woman because she wants to get that love. She wants to get that partner
yeah,
for forever because we all dream about that. So if you tell her she
yeah,
needs to be prettier, she needs to have this kind of care or this kind of t-shirt to attract someone, she will do it. That's why I say that
yeah.
today's world and the media and the governments, they prefer single people, not people that are in happy relationships
Yes,
because they
yes.
don't need so many products.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. And it's even I was discussing it with someone once. I remember, so they were telling me that, there are certain agendas, that go on in today's time, among bureaucracy, governments and stuff like that. The same thing that you're speaking about is that, to create a market or to create such a scenario in society in such a way that that focuses on single people, or so much on women that it encourages consumerism for women in a way by disparaging men, and to create a victim mindset in for girls and for women, that
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're always the weaker sex, you are the fairer and the weaker sex. So you just see the dichotomy, a movement, a thought process which was needed at a certain time, and which served its purpose up to a certain extent, has now turned into a hydra monster almost, which is now eating its own parts, its own
Mm-hmm.
self.
Mm-hmm.
And this extremism, which has come over into women's rights and stuff like that, it's only going to harm women rather than
Yes,
help them evolve better, improve their lifestyles, their health, their upkeep. And it has already started, by the way. We
it
can
is.
see its effects and impact around that. Even in India, if I have to talk about, so many cases these days, and in the last 3 to 4 or 5 years, it has only increased. So many instances of, uh, you know, I'm not taking sides for anyone, but I'm stating
Same.
facts,
Yeah.
news figures that I have seen that keep coming up in front of you and that you cannot deny. There are so many cases, I mean, instances where uh, the legal frameworks are misused by certain women. I'm not saying all, but certain women to harm men and their families. So they get
Hmm.
married, and after marriage, if something is not working out, They will threaten the man or the guy that, I'm going to implicate you in such and such case, and you're going to pay for it, the kind of
Yeah.
pain you have given it to me. And she will forget all the whole pain that she has inflicted on the guy, but she will get the guy framed for
Yeah.
whatever apparent, assumed, or perceived pain that he has created for her. Even though the guy might have, fulfilled every second wish of hers, he must be earning very well. Uh, he must be, a great businessman and having the best of cars and whatnot. But still, there are certain women who are uh, somehow who have given into this victim consciousness, this victim mindset,
Mm.
and they have become completely convoluted in their thought process, in their approach towards life and their life partners. And in many cases, when something like this happens, more or less the law takes the side of the woman, and it becomes a huge, literally huge, debacle for the guy and his family.
Mm.
And there are even cases where funnily enough, but I mean, it's also frustrating for people, when a woman uh, puts on all these charges against the guy's sister or brother who don't even
Oh
live
my
with the guy
God.
in the first place. There are even such cases. So a lot of weird things are happening right now. A lot
Yeah.
of misuse of law, misuse of power is getting into is being observed, is being seen nowadays, and it's indeed a sad and painful state of affairs the way it is shaping up.
I see that a lot in the West as well. Um, I see a lot of men
Mhm,
being abused by women, and
mhm, mhm,
it in a way they can't do anything about it because
mhm,
um, it's almost like women think they have the right to do that. It's almost like
mhm,
like there's this mindset of like men deserve it, like
mhm.
serves them
Yeah.
right, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then I've seen like in certain countries they opened up like safe houses for abused men as well. And it's a fact.
Yeah.
Like there's more and
Yeah.
more men that are abused. And I'm talking about like sometimes the, you know, kind of like psychological abuse can be as bad as physical abuse, if not even
Mm.
worse sometimes.
Yeah.
And but but there is no like it's almost like there's this dogma around it. It's everybody's saying like, oh, man up, or like be a man, or like these kinds of emotions, they're not allowed for men. But then on the other hand, everybody's like, oh, men need to show their emotions, they need to
Oh,
become softer. But then
yeah.
when they're actually being victims of abuse, proper abuse, they're like, oh, shut up, no, you deserve that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of double standards in the world at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and women also, if we go back to the team of women, we're not happy either, because how can we be happy if there's
Yeah.
no men around us, even like
Yeah.
to make us happy? And I've been talking a lot of my with a lot of my friends, and they struggle a lot in relationships where I think the biggest complaint is about, I have to do everything myself.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to um clean the house, I need to cook the meals, I need to go to work, I need to raise my own children. And why do I have a man in my life? Because like he's not there
Mm-hmm.
for anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but we
So,
took the role. We took the role of man, like, and we took it
yeah.
ourselves. That's where the feminism went all the way to the other
Yeah.
extreme, where
Yeah.
it's like, we don't need men anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
biggest needs a man has is to contribute, to give something to society.
Yes.
That's one of the
Yes.
biggest drives that a man
Yeah.
has. Like, if you take that away from him, he's going to be like, okay, whatever, then I'll just have a nap.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Anna, I mean, it's a very beautiful point that you have brought out, that there is this dichotomy, confusion being created, and the double standards. Of course, and as I was just saying, mentioning this few minutes, some minutes back, that even I have seen that, observed it, and I have also faced it a little bit. And it's not just with partners; it's also with, if you are, if a man has friends who are like, of course, these days, I mean, you have male friends also, your female friends, everything. So, and even with colleagues for that matter. So I have seen this happening even in the coaching space or the therapeutic spaces where uh, there are guys or there are men, and they are being told, even I was told, that oh, you should not, you are being too direct and you're being too manly. You should try and be in a feminine flow, in a feminine flow. I'm like, what the hell? I
No.
mean, I do understand. So there is, in the first place, most people don't even understand what feminine means. They've just mugged up. They've just mugged up terminologies out of some random spiritual book and some freaking website or whatnot, but they don't really have the experience or in-depth understanding of what it
Mm-hmm.
means.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're telling a guy that you be more in a feminine flow, how stupid is that? I'm sorry to use this word, but
It's stupid.
it is after a point it becomes stupid because continuously you are telling him to be in a feminine flow, and how is it adding to him? What about his masculine flow?
No,
You
I'm
know?
going to tell you straight on and very honestly now. We
Yeah.
don't like men like that. Women don't like men like that. That is a
Uh-huh.
fact. We may go on
Uh-huh.
and say that because this is, I would say, the shadow side of us women as well, where we don't understand our sexuality very well.
Hmm.
So we're very bad at it because nobody taught us how to even explore it. So we have
Yeah.
this idea of a lovely guy that loves us and takes care of us and buys us roses and buys us chocolate every day and is every day involved in your feelings. And how are you feeling,
Yeah.
sweetheart? Are you okay? And give that to a woman, she's going to freak out after a week. Why? Because we don't want that. We want a man that is a badass, that has his attitude, that has his opinions about the world, but will only love us. That's what we
Yeah.
want. But this is
Yeah.
positive
Yeah.
masculinity, and every
Yeah.
woman is going to fall on that. When you
Yeah.
give her like, a badass guy that comes in, and then only to you he can open his heart. This
Yeah.
is what we
Yeah.
want. We don't want a good guy. Good guy doesn't get things done.
Yeah.
When your car breaks down, good guy is not going to come and fix it. He's going to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm very sorry your car broke down." That does nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the masculinity is more action.
Yeah.
That's what we want, but we fought so much against it because and I would go back to the where women were like raising their sons, and the way you said that the sons lost the connection with father, and they were like, the father is the bad guy. So a lot of things that the fathers of that time had were positive things, but we discarded all. So we were like, all that is bad. But what about the positive traits of the masculine? The action, the responsibility, the creation of a safe space for women, because women can only thrive in a safe space
Yes.
because we
Yes.
feel insecure. That's just who we are. It's just the
Yeah.
evolution, unfortunately.
Mm.
If you're
Mm.
a solo woman in a jungle, you're not going to have a great time. But if there is a man beside you with a bow and an arrow, you might
Yeah.
just get away with it.
Yeah.
So from an
Yeah.
evolutional side, I would say you want a man that has masculine traits but will only love you.
Yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
healthy masculinity.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. See, even men have a softer side.
Of course.
Men do have a softer side. It's not that men are only these harsh, cruel beings who
Oh,
are, who are savages, who are just meant to kill, maim. I mean, what? See, if that was the case, why would some of the best painters, singers, cooks, chefs are men in today's
yeah.
time
Yeah.
and have been since ages, by the way,
Yes.
if you have to look
Yes.
at it. Of course, I mean, there is a fixated idea even amongst men. I mean, it's sad to see that it has toppled up the masculinity in men too, that they also have some, not all of them, but many of them have this jilted idea that I have to be the strong,
Ah,
tough Superman.
but that's a
My
show.
goodness.
That's a play.
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, I mean, my goodness, what drama. If even if you're a Superman, Superman has his own weaknesses too. Kryptonite, for that matter. What's your
Exactly.
kryptonite then? You
Yeah.
are not untouched by weaknesses. At
No.
the end of the day, you are a human being too. But that being said, my point is that even men, I'm adding up to what you said, that even men need to now really stand up, claim their masculinity with confidence, with, of course,
Yes.
with gentle confidence. You know,
Yeah.
that gentle confidence is the confidence like a king, a kingly confidence. The
Yes.
king is very, see, why
He's
is the king
generous.
wearing why is the king wearing a crown in the first place? The crown symbolizes responsibility. At the same
Mm.
time, if you see, the crowns are made with soft stuff, velvet and feathers and all of that. So it also symbolizes that a man takes responsibility, but he does it very gently, with an air of confidence.
Mm.
The man doesn't have to get scared or stressed out like today men are becoming more and more. And by the way, men are more prone to heart attacks and heart
Yeah.
related issues compared to women. These
Yeah.
are research numbers. It's not just me saying it. I mean, anybody can go and Google out and you will find out that men are more, and even for that matter, men are more prone to commit suicides than women
Yes.
across the
Because
globe.
they pent up emotions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
So I
also
think
like
here
yeah.
also, uh, I'm just adding this one point here, that here also, safe, conscious spaces for men need to come up more and more, and guys also need to, like really wake up that, okay, uh, I need to claim, not just claim, but I need to step in my masculinity with a sense of confidence and with a sense of ease, this like that Buddha kind of an image, that Zen in a Zen kind of a format, that yes, I am a
Yeah.
man and I claim it. And there's no shame in being a man. I mean, it's wonderful the way I am. Being a guy, I mean, the nature has made me a man, and I am who I am, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on the other hand, as you spoke about that, women reject. I mean, they want a man who really supports them, but then they also reject the man who is trying to support them. So
Yeah.
I think that is where it comes up. This point also arises that uh, you need to somewhere you need to let a man be a man. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, on a very regular basis. I mean, if as a colleague or as a friend or even as a life partner, spouse, girlfriend, you're telling the guy that be more in your feminine flow, be more in your feminine flow, it's not going to work out. The guy is one day or the other, he's going to lash out at you, and
Yeah.
he's going to lash out bad. I'm not saying that the guy is going to beat you up and all of that, but he's going to go silent on you, stop responding to your messages, or he'll send a very nasty text to you, or a voice note, or a call, or confront you in a way that will shake the earth below your feet. And then you will feel guilty, you will be left alone at the end of the day, and then you will become more closed within your own self that, oh my God, I don't have a partner. Oh, I was jilted. Hey, you were the one who did some mistakes. Own it up. Own it
Yeah.
up. It's not
No.
always the guy's
Hmm.
problem.
There's a
That's
lot
what I
of
think.
I'm saying a lot of shadow things around women at the moment, but like you need to just look at certain things. For example, you were mentioning like musicians, artists, and stuff like and a typical male musician or an artist that all women would be into. So let's say that's a musician, right? And it's a suffering artist that is usually holding a cigarette in his hand, and it's kind of very badass, but it's also
Yeah.
singing about love.
Uh, yeah.
And all women are going to be like, oh, oh my God.
Oh,
And
yes.
but if you
Yes,
ask
yes.
them, if you interview them, they'd be like, no, I'm looking for a nice guy. I'm looking for this. Like, yeah, yeah, because they don't know what they're
Yeah,
looking for. It's
yeah,
one thing
yeah,
is to have a mental idea of something that you want.
yeah.
But when you put that into reality, a lot of times it happens that in relationships, a woman corrects her partner so much that she changes him entirely, and then she's not happy with him and she ends up leaving him.
Yeah, yeah. Yes,
And
yes, yes, you're right. Very
this
right.
is all done from a point of insecurity. So
Mm,
if I
mm.
cut his wings, he will not be able
Oh.
to cheat on me. So if I make him unappealing to other women,
Hmm.
he will not go around and cheat on me. He's gonna just be with me. So I need to like literally almost like that's the shadow side of female as well that
Yeah,
we need to
yeah.
cope with. And this is so much
Uh,
of it in today's world. And then like at this point, like she creates this man that nobody wants, but in the bottom point, she does not want him either. Yeah.
See,
So
that's the funny
uh,
part of it. I mean, that's the dichotomy, the confusion. It's so uh,
but men used
see,
to do
it's
that to
like
women. It was the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. See, yeah, I am. We are nowhere. We are denying that this has not happened. This has
Yeah.
happened. But are we going to correct a wrong by another wrong? It's only going
No.
to add up more wrongs.
Yes.
More X's than ticks.
Yeah.
So that's what the point is. See, I'm not saying that uh, there are no problems among us guys or among men. Uh, I know. I mean, I've read, seen, and observed people. I mean, I'm quite observant that way. So even if
So, I mean, I
I
am
don't need to.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, we share that. So I think what I see is that, and of course, it's been a long time since men were have dominated women, and we see it in our parents or grandparents or great grandparents age. But in fact, in my in my case, if I talk about in my great grandparents, if I have to talk about you reminded me of them. My great grandmother was a very fiery woman. She was a very fiery woman, and of course, I mean, not fiery in a way that she would disrespect her husband, but fiery in a way that she would match up to my great grandfather's work and pace of life. They had 11 children.
My
Imagine 10,
God.
11 children, six sons, four daughters, 10 kids. And I think there were a few more children who sort of died in an early age when they were
Yeah.
children. I mean, two or three
Yeah.
of them. So imagine 13 kids, 13 children, a huge family. And in those times when these are times when India was still under British rule and India was moving towards its independence. So India, the scenario was very different, you know, and even in less resources, people were happy, contented.
Mm.
They were running their families in very good ways,
Mm.
strict, disciplined manner. And I remember my grandfather used to tell me that how his mother, again, who's my great grandmother, was so fiery. She, no, even a single man would not dare to speak against her, like, like really get into an argument with her because she was so fiery. She would just like hit you right on, like, just through her words. She would just take you down you know so I mean, that was the case. And my great grandfather was they used to have their own arguments and all that, but it was still chill. They managed it so
Mm.
well, and taking care of all the children, they brought them up so well with all the family values, and there so many of their children turned out to be well. My grandfather was a national level basketball player. He turned out to be very well. He went, and in those times, he went on to pursue his, a master's in zoology,
Wow.
animal sciences, and then after that, he started his own business. And similarly, his other brothers too, another two, three brothers too. I mean, they did very well. One of them
Mm.
became, two of them became chartered accountants. The others were also into business work and all of that stuff. So they turned out really well in that
Mm.
from that sense. But when you look at today's time, I mean, uh, you see there is just such an air, because we're continuously fed with these things. You open up Instagram, you open up Snapchat, any social media, you have those colors, those dynamics running around in front of your eyes, and your brain is getting clogged up and inundated with all that information. And even, I mean, the web platforms and streaming platforms have those kind of web series and movies which are again, because see, it has become a market at the end of the day, as we were discussing it.
Yeah.
They have to also sell a product. They have to sell
Mm.
a movie or a web series. So how are they going to do it? They're going to do it by creating that kind of an image in front of you, imagery for you,
Yeah.
messaging for you.
Yeah.
They don't care if it goes, if your family improves or not. At the end of the day, I'm telling you, most
Of
of them do
course.
not care. All they care about is that, of course, I'm going to earn lakhs and crores of rupees or dollars. And yeah, I'm all chill. I mean, who cares about your family if even if the wrong messaging goes out to girls or men or guys or women, whatever. We don't care. So
Yeah.
that is the state. And a lot of people, women or men, are unable to understand that somehow, more or less.
Yeah.
Many have started to understand, but there are still a lot of people, good chunk of people who really don't get that, and they just get carried away
Mm.
with the messaging, the kind of thing goes on, and they feel that, okay, I think this is the way how it should be, without doing their own
Yeah.
research and understanding and using. I usually tell people, please use common sense. Please use common sense. You know, uh, Let me give one more very quick example. Can you compare an orange to an apple? Tell me that. Please tell me. Can you
Not
compare an
really.
orange to an apple, or an apple to a mango, or a mango to a papaya? Can you do that? When you can't do that in nature's elements of nature, why are you drawing all these kind of comparisons between men and women? Why are you trying to like sort of like women trying to uh, become the man, right?
Yeah.
Or even if I have to say, the man trying to take on the role of too much of a role of woman. Of
Yeah.
course, in joint
I see that
families,
more and more. I see
yeah,
that more
yeah.
and
I mean,
more. It's very destructive.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
See, we nobody. Again, I said using common sense. It's by default that we are living in families and structures where it's a fast-paced life, and you
Mm.
need to manage so many things. So sometimes the man has to take on the role of the mother, but the mother also has to take on the role of the father sometimes.
That's
What to do?
okay.
You have
That's
no option because life paces become like that.
no.
But now, if I say that, oh, my girlfriend or my wife should not do it, or the girlfriend or wife says, oh, he should not do it. I am the one who is the greater one. I should do everything. What are we doing to ourselves even?
Yeah.
I mean, I
We're
don't
not.
understand that.
We're not allowing women to be women anymore, and we're not allowing men to be men. So there's only something in between, and nobody's happy.
Yeah. Sandwich, it's
And
like a sandwich situation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was also thinking what changed so much from the time of our grandparents to nowadays. And I mean, a lot of things changed as well. But this
Yeah.
whole like sexual revolution, especially in the West, started, which started off as it was needed, because like at least here we were in this grasp of religion, and there was a lot of religious rules around that were very, very bad for people and kind of the freedom of their sexuality. But again, we we gave people this freedom to do things without telling them or understanding really what they're doing. And
Yeah.
this is like now the manifestation of it, where the family values have been kind of like switched for like cheap and easy sex. And both does it just doesn't work, because
Hmm.
like we're not just sexual beings, human, we have so many aspects to ourselves, and we
Yeah.
need proper connections, we need emotional connections with people. So you can't
Yeah.
be lying to people that the only thing you need is like, I don't know, just indefinite amount of partners, and that's
Hmm.
enough, and that
Hmm.
that will feed your soul. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And that happened. It's the same with feminism, right? So it's all very connected. It started
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
good idea. It started with a great idea. Okay, let's give
Hmm.
freedom to people, and then it just went to the other side. And
Hmm.
I have like a lot of like young students, a lot of like young people that I work with, and they're very confused about what love is, what sexuality is, how do these things need to look like.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's funny because my generation knew it better than they do, but they should know it
Hmm.
better because they've been living in this age of freedom longer than me.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, they should know it better. They should understand something, but it feels to me like they're completely confused with everything. And again, the media has been telling them lies. It's like, oh, female and male sexuality are the same. They're not. They are not the
Yeah.
same, and
Yeah.
they
They're
don't
not the
need to
same.
be
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's this entire confusion around that as well,
Yeah.
which our
Yeah.
grandmothers actually didn't have space to actually deal with
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
forbidden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like you had to go into the marriage as a virgin, your husband was your only partner, and this was the end of the story for most people. Like,
Yeah.
of course people were cheating on each other always, and this will
Yeah.
never go away because this is also
Hmm.
our shadow
Yeah.
of sexuality that will keep on popping up. But
Hmm.
now it's like no rules. But it doesn't
Hmm.
seem to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
seem to work at all. And I see more and more women that are kind of like engaging in this kind of free sexuality. I can just sleep with whoever I want, and then they're home crying.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So because see again, um, there is a when you are in your teenage, when you hit teenage, your hormones are on high. You want to
Yes,
explore about all of these stuff, your sexuality and all of this. And then, of course, I mean, you realize certain things that like are like this and that and all of that stuff. I mean, you go on an exploration spree, which can go on for some time, in certain ways. But the point here is that I think generationally, if we look at it, uh, of course, there is a factor of a lot of shame and guilt around it.
yes.
Because when morality was introduced into this thing, it was looked upon from the eyes of morality. That is when shame and guilt started to creep in around the
Yes.
topic of sexuality. In India, somehow, India also has experienced a similar kind of a dynamic in a different way. We had invasions. Uh,
Mm.
Women here were, before Mughal era, women were much more freer, you know.
Mm.
And we've had queens who have ruled kingdoms, who have
Mm.
fought for their kingdoms. We have had queens, and I mean, it's a historical fact. There is no denying it in India. And not just one queen, there have been multiple queens in different parts of India, by the way.
Interesting.
Uh, and there have also been women who were wives of great saints and sages, who were equally high intellectual caliber, these women. And you could say they were spiritual giants, these women.
Mm.
And even till today, when we offer prayers in our temples, in certain, there are, when we remember our tradition of masters and gurus, we remember them with their wives. The
Mm.
rishis, the saints and sages are invoked along with their wives because their wives also were great saints themselves, practitioners of deep, powerful spirituality. And so, in those times, I mean, there was no shaming, there was no morality. There was this lens of dharma. Dharma is about righteous conduct in a way that is healthy for you and society. It's not morality, oh, this is bad, oh, this is stubborn. No, 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 not like that. It won't go into a, like we say, sometimes we mock the lecturing mode of lecturing, because when you're
Yes.
looking at things from a morality lens, it takes you on a lecturing mode, that high horse sort of a thing. But when you look
Yeah.
at things from a mode of dharma, it makes you understand things as they are in a
Mm,
very, and you start taking them in a very natural manner. That, of course, when you are in a marital relationship, the spouse has both the man and the wife, they have their own distinct sexual rights,
mm,
and they have their own sexual duties,
mm.
which they are capable, or they are allowed to do it with themselves in their own space. There's no shame about it. But again, as the history form, society changed, invasions came
Religion
in.
really, really did a lot of harm there, because
Yeah,
the entire concept of even having your own sexuality without a partner was a sin, especially in Western societies, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
the same in
yeah,
Christianity or Islam. Like,
yeah,
it's something that is completely forbidden,
yeah,
and the sexuality was put into the only use was to have children.
yeah,
There's nothing
and
else, everything
yeah,
else was
yeah,
forbidden.
and see, again, because you are rejecting it, you are becoming more and more merged with it. More and more cases of
Mm,
sexual abuse arising,
yes,
and incest and whatnot. I mean, there's so much of corruption around sexuality. I mean, convoluted.
incredible
What
amounts.
is Yes, I mean, what is supposed to be a healthy, natural thing has been made into this kind of a monster ugliness out of it, you know? And
It
so,
should be something that is, a sacred act between people that
yeah,
love
yeah,
or at least respect each other, you know?
respect, and also I think healthy. In India, you have the India, I mean, people sometimes joke, but in India, you have an entire text on sexual
Yeah.
health and about sex, which is the Kama Sutra. And it's amazing to see that a rishi, a saint, has written that book. You know, so there was no morality about it. They had no qualms. They were
They
very clear
probably
about this.
probably
That
Brits
this is a part
imported
of life.
morality to you.
Yeah, I mean, they were so clear, they were so on point that this is a part of life. Yes, at the
Yes.
same time, because the lens of dharma comes into picture. So they said it's not, and that is why for a very long period of time, sex was not made into an ugly thing in India. But of course, when invasions happened here, and the Mughal invasion and everything, so many things changed because there was forceful conversions happening. Women were being sold, were being trafficked, were
Mm,
getting picked up. There used to be big bazaars where women were openly stripped naked and they were sold out
wow.
as slaves, you know
Yeah.
and even in those times and ages, because things started changing, but changing for the worse. So hence the kings and men in societies, they had to bring in a lot of rules around women, and women also started, they had to sort of protect themselves, keep themselves in those big veils. And the parda system was never a part of India. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
so foolishly taught to people that, oh, India had parda system. India never had parda. Till today we are I mean, Indian society is sort of bearing the brunt of it, because still in the villages, the rural parts, the very economically backward areas in India, still those some sort of those old age practices like
Mm,
these big veils, they go on. But still there are still a lot of things are changing, but still a lot of work needs to be done. But where is it originating from? You have to go back in the history and you have to look at it. You have to look at the generational trauma that has been a part of
yes.
it.
Yes.
Systemically, women were taught that if you are out there, you are going to get killed or raped or being sold in the market, or something is going to happen to you. And men who already were doing, I mean, as if they were already ruling or administering, they were providing it all for their family and for the women. they had to take extra burden to even keep their women safe
Yes.
from harm, from
And this is
getting looted.
happening a lot in the world as well. And this
Yeah,
is the shadow side of repressing sexuality. And this is the
yeah,
worst thing that can happen, especially masculine sexuality. If it's
yeah,
repressed, it will come out ugly.
yeah,
The
yeah.
feminine may be suppressed so much that it will not come out at all ever, that a woman is
Hmm.
going to think, oh, I don't even have it. But with
Oh, yes,
masculine, because
yes.
it's such a force, and it's like a
Hmm.
primal urge, it's a primal energy,
Hmm.
it's life, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It will come out ugly if it's suppressed. So it didn't
yeah.
work in Christianity either. There's a lot of scandals around Catholic
Oh,
priests
yes.
that
Yeah,
there's tons of it because it does not work. And I always
yeah,
said,
yeah.
just let them marry. They'll be fine. They'll be okay.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like you're forcing
yeah,
them to live. You're giving them power, but you're forcing them to live a very modest and, sexless life. It will
yeah,
never work
yeah,
because
yeah.
power and sexuality are almost like brothers,
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
right?
No,
They go together.
yeah, I think celibacy cannot be forced.
No.
Celibacy is a very it is a part of human life. Again, I mean, we've had in India, there have been so many saints who were celibates.
Hmm.
Uh, in Vedic terminology, there is a word called as brahmachari. Brahmacharis are people who do not enter into a regular, family life. But their life is very different.
But they
It's
use
not
that
meant for,
energy. They
yeah,
use the
they use
energy.
creativity, putting into
Yes,
creativity, into
exactly.
service for the society, into the intense spiritual practices, and then using that spiritual energy to put it into the service of society.
Yeah.
That's how it was. That's how it was supposed to be. Of course, I mean, India has also had its own issues around it. There have been over time, there have been also these practices have also been corrupted in many cases. Not
Yep.
all, I'm not generalizing, but in many cases they have been corrupted or they have been misunderstood,
Mm,
misused.
mm.
So yeah, there have been challenges. There are challenges there in Indian amongst Indian population too. But since we are discussing it, the cultural and historical background of it, so I'm bringing these points to the forefront. Yes, it does create, and when people today, I mean, in terms of the present times, when people look at into the past of India, sometimes people get confused. Oh, how come the people earlier were celibates and now they are getting married? No, I mean, both are separate things. You could marry and have a family life, beautiful family,
Mm.
healthy family life, and you could still earn well, you could still go for your spiritual pursuits. And at the same time, there was a system where you could just dedicate your life entirely to spirituality and not marry at all. But
It's a
celibacy,
it's an
yeah,
option.
it's an
It's
option.
like it's a
See, and it,
choice.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a choice, and
Yeah.
it's it's something natural. It's something somebody's born with. See, somebody's born with the talent of, mathematics.
Mm.
Somebody is born with that power, some kind of a spiritual attribute in them that takes them onto that path. And
Mm.
that is what they are meant for. Then they might choose the path of celibacy. But it's like it comes naturally to them. It's not forced upon. And
Yeah.
even if it comes naturally, that does not mean that there are some physical or sexual issues with them. No, not at all. It just means that that's how they are built. They're going to take up the path of, and in fact, by the way, there have been so many instances, so many cases where be it a man or a woman, they're married, but a point of time came in their life almost naturally, or let's say karmically somehow, that they completely turned towards spirituality.
Mm.
They had children and everything, but they turned towards spirituality and they went on to become the greatest of saints India has ever had. Until today, they are remembered with great reverence
Yeah.
and love. So, I mean, there's so many shades to it, so many. But even
Absolutely.
then, none of them, there was, I mean, by default, there was no shunning of sexuality. They never shun. All they said was that please have a healthy life. Please, they would still train your senses, get them in check,
Mm.
you know, uh, have a big why were they telling people to get your senses in check was to so that you it was for your their benefit. You live a healthy life. It's not going to benefit them. You will live a
Yeah.
healthy life and you will create a system, a generation of family who is healthy, physically vital, healthy, and they have that kind of a glow on the face,
Hmm.
where you don't have to pop in pills to get that glow. You don't have to get Botoxes for your for your good looks. You don't have to get hair transplants for your good looks and for for your energy levels and all of that. You don't need to eat vitamin. Why? Because when you are trained in that way, systemically, you create a system which further, it not just at the family level, but at a societal, cultural, national level, it creates a healthier, stronger society.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
what was aimed. But I mean, again, the invasions and the British invasion and all of these stuff that came, it changed so much. And in fact, it is said that it's not said, but it's a fact that one of the British officers in India, when British started to rule in India, they were exploring initially. The East India came up, and then it was the last Mughal ruler, I think Shah Jahan, Shah Jahan Jahangir was there, and the second last Mughal ruler. And then after that, the Mughal rule was only on its decline. There they started, they entered, and all of that happened. And then slowly, gradually, they became greedy. They wanted to rule
Hmm.
India, uh, annex the lands of India, because India was a very, very princely, rich country that point of time.
Yeah.
So, and India, naturally, India was surrounded by sea from three sides, and there were vast resources in kettle. So they said that, okay, we need to do something about this. We need to get our stuff out of it. So then when they started to rule India, there came a point when Lord Macaulay, he was, I think, one of the high level British officials, and he was discharged with the duty to go and explore India and understand the Indian lifestyle and everything. So he presented a paper in British Parliament on how to like really annex India and take control of it. He said in his paper, in his speech, he said that if you want to rule India, break India, you have to break its education system.
Oh my God.
Because I've traveled the length and breadth of this country and I've nowhere found a single beggar.
My
And why?
God.
Because of its beautiful, diverse, strong cultural and educational roots and values. So you need to destroy that. And over time, so what they
They
did, they
did.
started passing bills which cancelled the gurukuls that were there in India, most of them. They started to destroy these bills. They started introducing their kind of, the British kind of education, you know
Hmm.
and that's when like you also must be knowing about how it happened in Canada, how it happened in Africa. The
Yeah.
same way, almost more or less, is how it happened in India. The education system was broken, and from there and then on, all these things which were looked in a very different, in an Indic way, were brought with the sense of, I'm sorry to say, the sense of British morality. And
Hmm.
so many laws were introduced that, this is unnatural, that is unnatural, this and that. And then it started to sort of uh, create a domino effect, you know, and then Indian officials would go and study in London and in other parts.
Yeah.
People who were rich, actually, not the people
Yeah.
who couldn't afford it, but who were rich at that point of time. They were influenced by British culture and all of that. So there was a lot of cultural transactions. They started
Yeah.
marrying British women and getting all of that stuff. So it changed a lot for India. So many
Yeah.
things changed. And that's when these things also started to creep in about sexual morality and the laws again. Even if you look at the rules and regulations around the LGBTQ people like we talk about, they introduced this bill in India that it's a crime. It's a heinous crime to
Oh my
have
God.
same homosexuality in
And
India.
now
But
they're preaching the world about it.
oh, That's
Now they
that's the funny
changed.
part of it. That's the funny part of it.
Oh my
That's the funny
God.
part of it. And that's where, I mean, in India, it was still, uh, they were aware that, there is an affinity. There is a certain section of people who may have same gender preferences, leanings, or they might have leanings towards both the gender. They were very open. They understood the human prism of life.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is how things have changed. There are many other layers to it. I don't want to get into it because it's a huge thing. It's a huge debate and discussion. But I'm giving you a very sort of encapsulated format at how things shifted in India and
Yeah.
how it all added up systemically to sexual to these instances of sexual abuse and suppressed
Hmm.
sexuality
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
pain and trauma around it,
Yeah. I mean,
both for men and women, by the way.
similar happened to Europe, by the way, because we
Yeah.
originally,
Yes.
Christianity wasn't the first religion that Europe
Hmm.
had. So we had ancient Rome, we had ancient Greece. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
gods. It wasn't only one
Yeah.
god. There was no
Yeah.
monotheism at that point.
Yeah.
And sexuality was very free.
Yeah.
Equality, uh,
Yeah.
human rights, philosophy, science, everything was
Yeah.
very evolved. And you have like the
Yeah.
library of Alexandria that was burned down by
Yeah.
Christians,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
plunged
I've read
us
about that. Yeah.
into the dark ages, in the Middle Ages, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
this whole morality around, sexuality started creeping on. I mean, they were burning women, they were burning us as witches.
Yes.
Whichever woman
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
behaving out of the line, would be in danger of being burned
Oh.
on the stake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we had to, get into this. I don't even know how to say it. It's almost like a mask that we all were wearing, women, in order
Hmm.
to like
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
to behave in any way different, because then
Yeah.
that would actually, you could be like, your life could be at stake. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
false moral, really. It's it's very outdated as well. But then, yeah, actually, it's very interesting because like you have Christianity that forces all of that on people. But then, like, even in the ancient Sumeria, which is like in the Middle East,
Hmm.
women could do anything and could vote
Yeah.
and could,
Yeah.
so this switch must have happened almost at the entire planet at the same time, with the birth of these kind of monotheistic religions. And now it's shifting again. So I'm worried.
Yeah.
Are we going to go back again? You know how everything works in cycles. And
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
pushing men. Will they fight back? I don't know. I'm very worried about what's going to be
Hmm.
happening in the world. Um,
So, I think, see, nature has its own way of balancing out things.
yes.
But of course, that does not mean that us humans do not have to use our common sense. We don't have to use our abilities. We don't have to use, it does not mean that. We must, because in those days and times, maybe there were lack of resources, maybe there was dearth of communication, but now things have changed. We
Yeah.
are in a much more advanced age. We are and a much more comfortable age, by the way. Who
Yeah.
could have imagined, like, you and me, you sitting in Ireland, I sitting in India, talking so freely?
Talking.
Who could have
Yeah.
imagined that too through a screen, through this 4 by 4 or 3 by 3, or like a 7 inch, 6 inch screen? Who could have imagined? Nobody imagined at
Yeah.
that point of time, right? But given all of these advancements, it becomes all the more necessary for us as humans to, like, really tighten our seat belts and
Yeah.
really take up the mantle to create, maintain, and transform the three natural powers which are universal: creating,
Mm.
persevering, maintaining, and transforming. These imbalances in society, in our families, in our ancestral systems to create a more, you know, a more harmonious environment. I won't say, I'm not talking about a utopian world at all. I'm not saying the world is going to become perfect or it should be a perfect world. No, I have no no confusion about it. The
That's
world
my
will never be a
ultimate hope.
I have no confusion that the world is never going to be a perfect place. I have no qualms about it. And I'm like, I mean, there are still people out there who think for a perfect world, or somewhere the God is going to come down. We have to,
Yeah,
ask
give
for
up on
same,
that.
no, all of that. No, no, not at all. The
um,
world and universe is always cyclical. And
yes.
if there is like a growth, a boom, it goes down into repression and depression too. And again,
Mm,
there will be
mm.
a rise and boom. These waves will continue. That is how nature functions. That is how universe functions. And
The
you
only
can't change
way,
anything about it.
the only way to actually, I always go back to this conclusion. If we don't look at the shadow part of everything, so if we don't look at the shadow part of feminism, if we don't look at the shadow part of masculinity, if we don't look at the shadow part of sexuality, we will never
Yeah,
see the full picture, and we will
yeah,
always make mistakes.
yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
problem, because like we are
yeah,
ignoring this massive, it's almost like an elephant in the room, and it's there and everybody sees something is wrong, but they're
yeah.
like, there's no way that there's an elephant in the room because this is impossible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's, we're
You,
not looking at the shadow, we're not looking at the
yeah.
shadow of anything, so we're like, oh, let's give women their rights. Okay, perfect, that's a great idea, it's something that we need to praise and celebrate. What's the
Hmm,
shadow in it? If we
hmm,
give
yeah,
women rights and they're not actually really, they didn't really they're not at the point where they understand themselves really well, they're not going to see the shadow of that. So then you're going
yeah.
to have a lot of that kind of abuse of that power, because this is
Hmm,
the
yeah,
shadow.
yeah.
Like,
Yes,
or
yes, indeed.
yeah, if we give men their power, and then there's the shadow part of masculine, is like aggression, manipulation, domination, more like literally, like, that kind of abuse.
Hmm, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's also good parts. But not looking at the shadow is like you're never solving anything. You're just running in
Indeed,
circle.
indeed,
You're running
indeed,
from one
indeed.
shadow to another. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the world is never going to
Yeah.
be a good place
Yes,
if we
yes,
if we don't
indeed,
look at it.
indeed.
And
Hmm.
that's the thing, religions also, like, not Hinduism that much. Like, I would say there's like proper tools to deal with shadows there, but like I would say maybe the Western religions is like, let's all look at the light, the God is good, and we're gonna pray, and everything's gonna be great. We just need to
Yeah,
believe in it. No, it doesn't
yeah.
work that way. Because like any kind of shadow that you have, even either if that's like a generational trauma, or is
Hmm,
something of
hmm.
yourself, or something maybe that your soul carries.
Yeah,
If you don't resolve it, it's always gonna be almost like an anchor that you pull,
yeah,
so you're
of
never
course.
free. Yeah,
Of course, you are going to see you've used the very right word for it. It's like an anchor, heavy anchor, which is clutching at your own feet.
yeah,
And then you're just carrying it one generation after another. And of course, uh, when we're talking about shadows, nowhere, once again, I would repeat it for the audience also. Nowhere, no, I am or you or anybody here is saying that women are all bad, right? Or
no,
men are all
no,
bad. But what we are talking about are the current imbalances that have come up,
yes,
because of
yes,
the extreme of one side, which was
yeah,
another side which was at an extreme now is trying to come back in the center, and the other side is going into another extreme and really struggling with it. So
yeah.
either ways, that's why I said that, it's like a heart which is breaking, like it's going
Mm,
here or here, and it's finding it very difficult to be in the center, the pieces of the heart. So yeah, but yes. See, when we are talking about shadows, I have uh, friends, like my childhood friends, women, girls, who have really, in reality, faced issues in their marriages, and they
mm,
had to file for a divorce, or in different ways. They did go through a painful period, and there was
yeah,
no other option other than to separate, step out of it. And I also know men in my own circles. I've heard and seen men who have also suffered at the hands of
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
because they were kept in the dark, they were not given right information before getting married, uh, they were just sort of given all wrong expectations, and when they got married, and within few months of their marriage, they started noticing something was not
Mm.
right, and then there was no option other than to separate or step out of that zone. And sometimes somewhere it's done, the separation here in India, what I've seen here, is done in like a normal, regular, silent manner. But there are many other spaces where it takes a very ugly turn. Like I was talking about that there are some women, some, I'm using
Yeah.
the word some, I'm not saying all, some women who are misusing laws, and even their families are involved in supporting them in doing this.
It's
Because what
almost like a
happens is, see, it
business.
becomes, yeah, it's a business. It's a business. It's a correct. You've picked up the very right word. It becomes a business. It's treated like a business because ultimately you're getting some lakhs of rupees, some crores of rupees, and in the form of alimony, right?
Mm.
And then it becomes like a contract and it's being misused. Yeah. But then, again come back to I come back to that same point, as you said, that how long are we continue to live this way? Because if this is not addressed today, if the elephant is not addressed today,
Yeah.
uh, it is going to become very difficult.
Yeah.
And already
Yeah.
there are reports and researches. I don't know if you came across this research. I think this research came out uh, end of September, beginning of October, where they said that the X chromosome in men is has started to reduce. So it is going to mutate in a way. There are chances, potentiality of the X chromosome in men to mutate in a way that over a period of time, the population of men will decrease significantly. There are
I've
chances.
heard something about that, and this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
crazy, but
Because,
you have to remember it is a woman that creates the body of a child. And if
yeah,
there is hate in women against men, and that little child is a boy, I believe in things that you can affect. You can affect
yeah.
anything with energy, with intention.
That is where, if you look at family constellations and epigenetics, that's what
Yes.
epigenetics talk about.
Yes.
That over a period of time, generation on one generation to another, that memory travels, right? And it changes the genetic expression,
Yes.
not the genetic structure per se, but the expression of the gene. It's going to switch on certain genes within the man or the boy, that it is going to mutate the X chromosome and
Wow.
reduce its vitality. It is going to reduce the way it functions. And as
Wow.
a result, the male population is going to come down to minuscule formats and structures and numbers.
Wow.
And
So in a way,
it's
women are en route to exterminate men.
I wouldn't say that.
Wow.
Can say that.
I
See, I think
it's
it's like both ways.
it's
I
the
can say
energy,
and
I
not say.
think. Yeah, it is the energy that has been passed down by a generation of women, which has not been expressed, and now it's reaching its full potential. Where we're really angry. We are so angry when we want to get rid of you, and
Yeah.
I get it. I get that energy. Like I felt it throughout my teenage years, and you see, my mom was abused by my father. My grandmother was abused by my grandfather. There was a lot of physical, emotional, all kinds of violences. And I was very angry for a very long time until I stepped into therapy. And then my therapist actually asked me to check both sides. So I understand well why my mother was in that marriage and why my father was in that marriage. And then I
Hmm.
understood it's, even though he was the abuser, they were dancing the dance together, and in a way they were creating this
Hmm.
relationship out of
Yeah.
trauma. on both sides. So my
Yeah.
father had issues with his mother that he didn't resolve, and then that hate towards his mother that was holding him too tight was expressed on my mother. And then my mom was so traumatized that she didn't believe she can live like a life without a man, so she would take anything she can just so she's not alone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was a
Yeah.
dance, this was a dance. And like when you look at it, they were both, they like, my father wasn't happy being an abusive man. He felt awful. I talked with him about some of the most traumatic experiences that I went through with my family with him, and we had a
Mm.
very honest chat. I felt like I need to do this. I was like,
Mm.
almost like, I imagine having a chat with your father is like, why did you hit my mother?
Yeah.
And he really opened up, and he told me how much ashamed he was after that, and how much,
Mm.
and how all of that was the result of his penting up of emotions and frustrations.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it was
See.
it was like, it was an awful conversation. I felt like I was like walking
Mm.
through a graveyard, but I was like, this is
Mm.
necessary. I need to hear
Mm.
this. I need to know this, because like,
Mm.
then I can understand him. And
Yeah.
even though I am understanding him through the worst stuff, like in a way, like I'm angry as well that I had to go through this. But they had no resources. They had no one to turn
Mm.
to and say like, oh, I need help. Like, I have issues with this. I have issues. We have tons. We have therapists. We have constellations. You can go online and take any therapist from anywhere in the world. They had nothing.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I mean, this rage that women have, um we need to start understanding as well that, um in a way, men were abused as well, and that's why they behave this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very let me bring a little more of the constellation lens here. Um, it's more of a victim perpetrator dynamic
Yes,
that plays out.
it
Uh,
is a dance.
and yes, it is a dynamic. And you also do constellation work, and
Yes,
what Hellinger used to say, that it is the most this dynamic of a victim and a perpetrator is one of the most uh,
it was almost
kind of
enmeshed.
mystical
Yeah,
and
yeah,
very strongly enmeshing with each other.
yes, yes.
It does not, of course, he didn't mean, or we are not, I'm not saying that it has to be like that. One has to be a victim and one has to be a perpetrator necessarily.
But
No,
they
but
really attract each other.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's almost like a
That's the,
magnetic thing.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's the nature of this dynamic is such. And as children, we can, I think, only do this because, uh, like you said, that, you was also so enraged. As children, I think or we can only do is that I think a couple of things that we can do and say to our parents, if not directly, in our own hearts is, dear mother, I know you suffered and I honor your suffering, but I step back in my own position, mother. You know, listen to this very
Yeah,
carefully. I step back in my own position, mother, because when I step back in my position is from where and how I can see you as you are,
exactly.
not,
That's what I
not,
did. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
not as
And
what perceive or uh, imagine you to be, but
mm,
as you
mm,
are. And
yeah,
Father, as I do that with mother, I do the same to you. I look at you as you are. And
yeah.
mother and father, I take you both as you are.
Mm.
Neither more,
That is so
neither
healing.
less.
Yeah,
Neither more, neither
yeah.
less. So, I mean, it's these sentences, words can have such a deep impact on our psyche, our consciousness itself. That is what this power can do.
Yeah.
And it's not just the verbal power of it, but that intrinsic movement, that shift
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
way you are positioned, either with
Yeah.
too much with your father or too much with your
Too
mother, you
much with
come
mother.
right back into the center.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
then that's what individuation means. I mean, people have also taken this so in such a wrong manner. Oh, individuation means, shutting down to your mother, to your father. No, not at all.
That's an
Get the
escape.
context. Yeah,
That's an
get the
escape from
context.
Constellation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen
Escape, and
that
I think,
happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it also becomes another excuse to justify your projection of trauma on your parents or their projection on yours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
see, you are trying to address the victim perpetrator dynamic between your parents, but you yourself are becoming a victim or a perpetrator in all that game that you are trying to play in a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
unconscious manner. You're not even realizing it.
What I did, like what I understood through all that process is like, okay, that is their story. And they
Yeah,
had their
yeah.
chance, they had their right to play out their game. But what I want real equality between me and partner. I want really to be able to open up my heart, and I don't want to hold grudges that were not mine to begin with against my partner. Like, so I'm leaving that. I just made a decision, and that was even before the constellations, which is interesting because this was my own mind sorting things out, and I
Hmm.
was like, okay, I don't want this. I don't like this. I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like my mom. I want to create my own story. I want to create something, and I believe in love. Like, I really believe in love. Like, and for me, like, loving someone is almost taking him as a part of myself. Like,
Hmm.
just wanting the best for him. And this is kind of standard that I want to have in life. And and in a way, like, the new kind of feminism, the one that is nowadays in society,
Yeah.
would be very contradictory uh, to that decision, and I don't like that. Equality should be that partnership, both male and female energy working together and bringing the best out of each other.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
watched the example where my parents would bring out the worst from each other. They would just bring the worst out of each
Yeah.
other. So I was like,
Yeah.
I want to bring the best, out of my partner, and I'm ready to do the same. I'm ready to invest, even though if I fail, I don't care. It's okay. It's okay to fail. It's
Yeah.
okay to end up brokenhearted. I'd say it's a good investment, you know, in the end.
You've said something so profound and so it's very, very lovely, Anna, what you have said, because this is a very mature perspective, by the way. It's a very strong and mature perspective. And this brings me to the point of choice.
Mm.
Sometimes even in constellation work, uh, people look at it, or they expect that it's like a magic wand, that somehow the constellator is going to just wave an Alohomora and, they're just going to open up all the locks in just one go. But I'm sorry to break the bubble, it does not work that way. It
It's the same
works
with therapy.
on, yeah, it works on different layers, and it works in a conscious, slow, gentle manner. At the same time, systemic work or a systemic lens always, always, always is going to ask you of your own humanity, which brings you to what choice are you going to make. And
Mm.
I keep reminding the people I work with, or even other somehow my colleagues, and some of them, I've seen that some of them being so confused, and they have this expectation that systemic work or an approach should resolve everything for me in my life. But so I
Magically.
tell them that, see, you have to break off from that expectation first and foremost, and secondly, you need to understand, either as a practitioner, or even if you're not a practitioner, even then if you're a client or just a regular layman or individual, you need to understand you have the choice in your hand. Constellation is also again going to bring out that choice and like really make you stare in its face, or let it stare in your face. What are you going to do about it? What are you
Yeah.
choosing today? Of course, there's a
Yeah.
therapeutic element. It will bring healing. It will help you to release so much and integrate parts of you. Of course, it does that. But at the same time, very important part of it is the element of choice,
Yes. Yeah. You can literally,
which you
through
cannot deny,
decisions,
which you cannot deny.
you you, you
And
can change your
yes,
life.
and the more you run from it, yeah, I think the more you run from it, the more that the choice will, the element of choice will fly behind you. What are you
Yeah.
choosing? Like you,
Yeah.
because when you said that I want to choose love, this is so powerful, Anna, because this exactly reminded me of this element that constellation work, systemic work is the lens is what it also brings with it is choice.
You know how often people say, "Oh, someone broke my heart, so that's why I don't want to love anymore." And I always look at it like, yeah, but what was before the heartbreak?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Like, did you forget about all the nice things that were before that? You know, the
Yeah.
butterflies in your stomach, the feeling of the first love, first kiss, togetherness, you know, all these beautiful things. And then you just remember the heartbreak. And I'm like, it's such a waste of it, you know, everything in life is a risk. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as certainty.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, I lost you there for a second. No, I was saying like there's no such
Yeah.
thing
I
as
think some.
certainty. So so
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way, like giving up on love for because of, you know, you might get hurt or there's a lot of these insecurities that I see in both women and men. It's kind of like, oh, it's not worth it. And I'm like, seriously, you know,
Yeah.
but like love is one of the most
Yeah.
important things in life. How come it's not worth the risk? You know, you risk every day. You risk
Yeah.
everything. You go on the street, you know, you might get run over by a car, or you might get, you know, sacked at your work on, or anything can happen, you know. All the animals that you have will pass away at some point. And everything in life is risk. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're about love. We're like, oh no, no, no. It's not worth risking, or it's too
Yeah.
scary, or
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we just need to let it flow, I think. And that's what we're not allowing it
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like just leaving, like just letting the person to be what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
Mm,
complicated
mm,
though.
yeah. I think it's also yeah, it's complex. See, there's a lot of course, we cannot deny uh there's a very strong element of the kind of conditioning that we
Hmm.
sort of have developed as we have grown up. What kind of conditioning around love and relationships we have developed, or we have learned knowingly or unknowingly from our family system, right?
Yeah.
And from our caregivers. Because ultimately, what's going to happen is, and what happens in a lot of spaces is that, of course, that, the first point of contact for you as a child are your parents. And when you see them, something is not right, something is off there, your body, your nervous system gets that kind of message and it registers it's not safe to love. You
Yeah.
have to be continuously busy. Uh, Again, when I was doing my when I was training and learning about constellation work, when I
Hmm.
also started realizing that I think I've also somewhere somehow I've learned this in a
Yeah.
very very deeply unconscious manner about love. That okay, I want to have love, and but then I'm also struggling in a way that oh, I
Mm.
might get hurt. Oh, she might leave me. Oh, she might not accept me the way I am. All of this. And over time, I have, I can say fully, I'm not saying I'm the most perfect being on this planet, but still, that uncertainty sometimes come up. But I think that now I'm in a space and, uh, in a position where I am much more at sort of that ease with myself, much in a much more integrated space. I'm not saying perfectly, and I don't think that it's going to be 100% always your entire
Mm.
life. But I feel that even if it is 70, 80, 90%, it's worth taking the risk.
Yeah, it
bringing that
is.
systemic shift, bringing
Yeah.
that systemic shift towards how you approach love in your life, how you look at the opposite, the opposite
Mm,
sex in your life, like,
mm.
opening up your heart is what. So
Yeah.
I think if you
Yeah.
remember, we were discussing the other day, and I said something it just came to me very simply. Men must heal, women
Yeah.
must heal. That's it.
Yes. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Now, I was always very lucky in love, I would say. I don't know, I probably was born under a
Hmm.
good star. Um, but I think what was
Yeah.
really important is that I was always willing to risk, because I have this
Uh-huh.
like kind of fire to myself that if I fall in love, like there's no stopping me. You can try, but you will
Right.
fail. and
Right.
uh,
Right.
and also I'm really
Right.
ready to give. I'm really ready to
Yeah.
invest a lot, and I think people can really
Yeah.
sense this, and that's
Uh-huh.
what
Yeah.
maybe is attractive about me. I don't know, but
Hmm.
maybe that's my theory. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and I always and then I see that people that actually really struggle to form relationships, even though they're saying they really want to have a relationship, is in a way they're not really ready to open, and people around him
Hmm.
like can sense that. um, and it's that feeling of kind of mentally I want this, but emotionally, I'm actually really scared and I'm really closed down. And also, I am
Hmm.
not really ready to invest because this might be, it's not safe. And in a way, people sense this. If I don't know, you definitely do believe in energy, so we can sense each other energetically. Um,
Yeah.
and people feel this. They don't know why they feel this, but they do feel it. And this is the reason why a lot of people can't find partners. It's like they're not really ready to take a chance. And energetically, they're projecting that out.
Yeah. 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 Because
That's
a
what I
part of
notice,
them,
anyways. I have a lot of friends that
yeah,
struggle
yeah,
with love.
yeah.
They
I
they
think
struggle, and they're
again it
even like in
goes
their
back.
40s. So yeah,
Yeah. I think it again goes back to somewhere around. I think it has to do again. It has to do a lot of your own conditioning. So what kind of messages you have
yeah,
received and you have absorbed and you have inherited about love? Like if you've constantly
mm,
seen, or for a very long period of time, you have seen your caregivers, being in a troubled relationship, or
yeah,
grandparents, or whatever, in family, or even in your amongst your peers, in your friends, you see people struggling, getting separated, ugly divorces, ugly separation scenarios. It really scares the shit out of you. My God, is
mm,
it this bad? And I think
yeah.
that's why a lot of people, I mean, I empathize with people. I empathize with all of
It,
these
it's
people.
also
And I always say, yeah.
it's also the relationship between a daughter and a father, and the son and the mother.
Mhm.
This is like your
Yeah.
almost first relationship with the opposite sex, if you're heterosexual. And the quality of that relationship also determines a lot of things that you're gonna be looking
Yeah.
for in your partner,
Yeah.
or fearing
Of
to get
course.
from your partner. Yeah.
Of course. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as you said, so I think that is where I think systemic work, family constellations are needed all the more today,
Yeah.
is to decondition, is to help people learn, and is to help people learn and understand the
Yeah.
how to make peace with these parts of you, and how to bring how to retrieve them back, these inner parts that seem to be confused or conflicted, again, owing to the conditioning, the environmental uh, impact and effects that you have picked up and that your nervous system is storing inside, is
Mm.
where I think a lot of work needs to be done, both for
Yeah.
men and women, both for
Yes.
men and women.
Both. Both.
And I will also add that, when we are talking about uh, emasculation of men, I think it also happens within men because
Mm-hmm.
there is this so let's say there's a group of 5 or 10 men, and 4 of them or 5 of them, let's say 3 or 4 of them are a little gentler compared to the other six. These 6 men are more rowdy and the who are more programmed with the I am a man kind of a thing. From inside, from inside they might be in shambles, but outwardly they are very forceful in their expression of being a man. That's a separate thing though. But these 4 people are a little more on the gentler side. Of course, they might have had a girlfriend or are having a wife, whatever, but they find it a little difficult compared to these men. Now, these 6 or 7 men are inadvertently in their general conversations or, in public places or in parties or somewhere, you can find these men sort of um, de demeaning these other 3 men. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm,
Demeaning them, by taking slight jibes at them, making fun of them or their
yeah,
situation and scenario,
yeah.
and making them feel less. So where's the brotherhood then? When you're talking about men supporting
Mm.
each other, you're not actually creating that space. As a man, I'm talking about. If you talk about women, women are still able to create that kind of a sisterhood or a space.
There is
I don't know. I mean, it comes
amongst
naturally to
women,
women or somehow. Somehow,
we
I don't
don't
know.
have it either. It's false. It's amongst women,
Uh,
it's all okay until a guy comes in, and then women are gonna stab each other in the back just to get the
no, yes,
guy.
yes. See, yes, yes. That is there. That is
But
there. That is there. That's like a
this is
universal
evolutional.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm not denying that. I'm saying that, but I think it slightly that, supporting each other is slightly a little more natural with women. They'll still be able to support each other compared to men supporting each other. Like for men, it's like almost
Yeah.
it becomes a matter of ego. Oh, how can I support this man? Oh, can he not support himself? That's the kind of thing that I think men also struggle
Mm,
with themselves for, uh, and it takes them time to like really make peace with it, to really
yeah.
bring that kind of a coherence in the group itself, with each other itself.
Shit.
So I think that's where again it needs to draw in a lot of uh, parallels, or so to say. It really needs to bring back that balance. I think Anna, I'm losing your connection somehow. Yeah, so I think Anna has somehow uh, she's gotten dropped out of the discussion, but I think I can wait for a while. We can wait for a while because sometimes technology has its issues. You can't do much about it. I mean, you are in a discussion, it breaks off sometimes. So yeah, uh, I think systemic work is something which can help men to uh, reclaim, like really embrace their masculinity and support each other in a better way. And at the same time, it can help women to, in an appropriate, healthy manner, embrace their feminism. Their, not the feminism, but the femininity of their own selves. And yes, of course, be supporting to each other. And of course, bringing the balance between men and women, a healthy balance, a healthy dynamic between both I was
Say
just mentioning,
something.
yeah, I was just mentioning the point that how systemic work is can be so beneficial for uh, for improving the inter dynamics between male groups and men in general, and help them like really understand their own masculinity, and help women too to claim and understand their own femininity, you know,
Yeah.
instead of rejecting it, instead of like trying to turn their own feminine into masculine, like really embrace it in a gentle, uh, in a gentle way, gentle manner, and of course support
Yeah.
each other. And then that's how even men and women, more of them can uh, develop harmonious and healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So that way,
Absolutely.
systemic work is a boon. Systemic work is a boon, is a powerful tool for men and women to work with.
I think, in a way, as we explored through the shadow of masculinity through the last couple of decades, then we need to explore the
Yeah.
shadow of feminine as well. And when we do that, hopefully we can find a balance, because then we can focus on
Yeah.
positive sides
Yeah.
of both, and just like, and they complement each other. So it's actually really easy to
Yeah.
form
Yes.
relationships through like healthy feminine and healthy masculine. They actually work well
Of
together.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. See, I mean, you've got two legs. You don't run on one leg, you run on both legs. So I think it's the same way that a nation cannot function with just one gender, or one dominating the other being at the back seat. Both have
Yeah.
to work together. Both have to work together.
Absolutely.
Both have to complement each other in their own unique and respective ways. One trying to be the other trying to be another. It's not going to help.
It's not your true nature, and is always going to feel
Yeah,
wrong. And if you really
yeah,
connect with that, if you really connect with yourself and you examine how well you feel in that role of like a very masculine woman, you're going to find that you're lacking something.
yeah,
Or the
yeah,
same
yeah,
if a
yeah.
man looks at
So,
like, oh,
and I
be
was,
more feminine. Yeah, it's always going to feel wrong.
yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. See, I think because uh, again, what would happen? What happens at that time is when somebody does that, when you constantly tell a man to uh, you know embrace the feminine side and all of that too much. I mean, of course, sometimes it's okay, but if it's like constant signaling and constantly being told in that tone, so the man, I think, rejects the feminine all the more with double
Yes.
the intensity.
Yeah.
And it becomes more frustrating. It's even painful for the man to be
Yeah,
in
it's
such a
it's
spot.
almost
And more or less
either
is,
either. So either he rejects himself or he rejects
yeah,
the partner. And it's not a nice
yeah,
thing to
yeah,
choose
yeah.
between, I'd say. Um it's like it's a tragedy in both senses. Like if he rejects himself even more, probably.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with
Yeah.
that. And that
I
also
love
reminds
this
me of a
chat.
case. I was just, same here, by the way, same here. Yes, of course. It also reminds me of an example of Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen of United Kingdom, and
Hmm.
uh, where it said that the article, it's in the article. It's not what I am claiming to be. And I think the article it was on skynews.com somewhere. I was just reading
Hmm.
about the history of the royal family just one day, 2 days back. And I just read that how uh, when Queen Elizabeth was young, when she became the queen and her father had passed, so her mother, uh, so they used the word indulgent. Like her mother was very indulgent in her upbringing, to the
Uh-huh.
point that it started creating a conflict between Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip in their
Mm.
relationship. Because Prince
Mm.
Philip, being the man, he wanted to, in the dynamic, he felt that he is the one that who should sort of lead and you know, be in cognizance, in that balance with his wife. But
Mm.
what was happening was that the queen mother at that point of time, she was somehow taking the role of her partner.
Oh,
And it was not just painful for, difficult and frustrating for uh, Prince Philip, but it was also getting frustrating for the Queen. This
yeah.
is what was written in the article. Again, I'm quoting that. I think it's available. It's available on Google. One can go and read on that Sky article. It's not my own claim. But
Yeah.
from that portion, you can understand. One can like really understand how uh, this uh, this imbalance in the feminine can harm the masculine, and,
Yeah.
and and just push away the masculine, and in turn the feminine herself gets hurt. This is
Yeah.
one good example of that, and there are many other examples, but I think this is good enough for for
You,
example for right now.
you have tons of these examples where a woman, when her son gets married, she wants to interfere in the
Uh-huh.
marriage so much that up to the point where she can destroy the marriage if the son doesn't pull the
Yeah,
line and say, okay, mom, stop, I got this, I'm the man of the
yeah,
family now, and I'm ready to make my own decisions, I don't need you to stir the ship anymore.
yeah.
But yeah, you have
Yes,
tons of
of
that.
course. Even that ways, either the mother with daughter or mother with son. In both cases,
Mm,
it is uh, it's pretty frustrating. Can be pretty frustrating, and in some cases, though, I mean, as you said, that in some cases it really breaks off the families like anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
A lot of shadows everywhere. That's the
lot of lot
I
of it.
always I kind of like had a huge interest in tarot cards for a while, but more in the archetypes
Yeah.
behind them, right? So the dark side of the tarot card of the queen is manipulation, and
Uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
very clear,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting because like women, like
Yeah.
it's the same energy that men would have with physical abuse, but like this is the
Yeah.
dark side in a woman where she would manipulate things and make things her way without clearly saying what
Hmm.
she's doing. Like so you can get you know why people are afraid of spiders, for example. Spiders are a very feminine energy,
Yeah.
but dark feminine,
Okay.
getting you in the cobweb. And you don't know you're being eaten until you're actually being eaten,
Yeah.
and you can't do anything about it.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So a
Yeah.
male
Okay.
power would be more like a lion, so you see him coming and he will
Yeah.
eat you. But a woman is more like a come again, almost seductively, and then you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Which
it's
is
very interesting the way you put it out. Yeah.
yeah. And I love how everybody's afraid of spiders. More so than
Yeah.
of lions, maybe
Uh,
because they're more common.
I think I think I'm afraid of lions also. But yeah, but of course, I mean they're very separate in their nature. The messaging is they're very different
Mm,
creatures. One is an insect and another is a mammal. And, um, I think even in for that matter, I think even in the animal kingdom, like even in lions, when you're talking about lions, uh, if you like really closely look at the videos, you will find the lion and the lioness support each other very beautifully.
yes.
You will find lionesses going and hunting, and if by any chance they get stuck, you can find in many spots you will find the lion is somewhere around, and he's keeping an eye on the lioness. And if he sees that she's getting into trouble, he will jump right in, and he'll just scare of the hyenas or the any other animals who would try to threaten those lionesses. And by the way, lionesses, they travel together. I mean, they would hunt together, three
Yeah,
or four of them
yeah,
together. They would
yeah,
not. They will never hunt in just singularly.
yeah.
But yes, if and at the same time, there are enough videos. If you see, if a lion or two lions are trying to hunt, and they're getting threatened by, let's say, these big oxes, or what are these kind of animals? You have these in African grasslands. You have these
And there are
buffaloes,
like
these wild
buffalo.
buffaloes, right?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're. I don't know the
yeah, the
name, but
wild
I know.
buffaloes. Yeah, even I'm not able to recall the exact name, but these they're also called as they're definitely wild buffaloes. You will see sometimes you see those if you study the nature of the sometimes they turn around, they try to hammer their
Yeah,
horns into the lion.
they're
So
very yeah,
yeah,
dangerous.
they're very strong, they're very sharp horns, and you'll find in some of them the lioness is pouncing on these trying to save the lion, the leader
Yeah,
of the tribe. So I think that is a very beautiful way that nature one can learn from nature how to complement each other.
yeah.
The man for
Let
the
let's
woman and the
let's
woman for the
let's
man.
maybe not learn from spiders because actually female spiders eat male spiders. I had
I
a
think that's why.
tarantula. Well, my partner actually had
Yeah.
a tarantula. It was a female, it was a girl. So
Okay.
they live longer, and if you want to mate them in captivity, so what the people that actually have these spiders do, they let them mate and then they save the male one because they need to react really
Mm.
fast and get the guy out because she will kill him and eat him because he will be the
Hmm.
source of food for the next generation.
Okay.
So let's maybe not look at the spiders. It's
I
not a
think it's
pretty
same with
story.
the
Praying mantis,
I
they
think
do the
it's
same.
same. Yeah, the mantis, the grass. I think not with the grasshoppers, but yes, the praying mantis. It's a similar dynamic there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's not look at that.
that's why
Let's
I
look
think
at the
you.
mammals.
That's why you said the dark feminine is why I think you mentioned over there
Yeah,
with spiders. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And there always was a dark feminine everywhere. It can be also used for good. But when it's completely unconscious, then it can cause a lot of harm because it's just
yeah,
unaware of what it's doing. Uh, The
yes,
same with
yes,
everything.
exactly,
The
exactly.
more you know, the more you
Yeah.
can actually, I wouldn't say control yourself, but you can
Hmm.
understand yourself better, which is super important.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yes, yes, yeah,
right. Gosh, we went through so many subjects
yeah,
actually, but it was all really well connected to the masculine and feminine.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think uh, when you're talking about a subject where you're discussing masculinity and femininity, I think it will you have to go back into history, touch up
yeah,
a bit on it. You have to understand
yes.
and of course,
You have
the
to understand
history
why.
of a nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. To get the full, complete context of it, you really need to touch upon, and because I think that's how the systemic lens works. It looks at the complete lens of it. Of
Yeah.
course, the generational lens of it, and that's when you like really start to understand what's actually happening, where are the gaps getting created, and why. And I think
Yeah.
that awareness itself is a huge factor to heal so much, to transform so
Mm,
much for the better.
yeah. I,
That's
I
all I
don't
can
know
say
about
around
you.
this.
You're probably this similar person as me. So where I don't know, like when I was a kid, I was always interested in why. I was the why person. I would be like
Yeah,
observing things and I would be like, why is this like that? And I think that's the part
yeah,
of my
yeah,
brain that really wanted to go into like family constellations, into
yeah,
psychology, into tarot cards. It's like I really wanted to understand everything. And then I would be always interested in what
yeah,
I'm missing. And I would be like almost like
yeah,
analyzing myself and my emotions and why am I feeling this? And it's a very interesting trait.
yeah.
Like not everyone has this.
Yes.
Like a lot of people find this very, it's almost like too much. But I really enjoyed it. Like for me, this was like very exciting. Like I wanted to know more. And then when I would find out something, I was like, give me more. And I still have this kind of attitude. And I always wanted to understand the world. Were you the same?
Yeah. Yes, yes, more or less I've been the same. I always was very curious to, until I realized that, I was very curious to know why, what, why. It was a very questioning kind of a person and a child. And sometimes I would, I would piss off people, and I would sometimes, uh, they would try to shut me down. But I was very inquisitive, and as a child, I was a very restless kid, you know. But yes, I was loved by all in family, and uh, I used to be a delight from my grandparents and all of that stuff, even from my parents. But yes, uh, I was very inquisitive. Um, why I would just, as a little kid, I would go and put my fingers into those switch sockets and try to figure out what is this. And
No.
sometimes my mother would pull me away from it, and she would give me a slap. You idiot, what are you doing? You'll hurt yourself. I mean, of course, I mean, because she would hit me because she would get scared for my life. Or sometimes my dad would just pick me up and pull me away, or granddad, and so I was quite, uh, mischievous, a naughty child who just tried to go all over the place. I was quite a handful up till a certain age, but yes, as I started growing up, I mean, I calmed down quite a bit. But yes, I was
Okay.
still inquisitive, finding out and uh, about uh, astrology and uh, of course tarot reading and
Yeah.
all of that. So I'm not into
Yeah.
I'm not a tarot reader, but I always found tarot reading. I have friends who are tarot readers. Uh, I've got sometimes I've taken readings and I've seen that it's like it's so wonderful, like it's on point, and also understanding astrology. I take
Yeah.
astrology is something I take a lot of interest in. Uh, Even right now, I'm in the process of like really start to study astrology as a subject properly. And
Mm.
I've already like found a good teacher here in India itself, and soon I'm going
Nice.
to start. But I think that knowing about human behavior and understanding was always there in one way or the other, be it
Mm.
through history, be it through mythology, spirituality, astrology.
Mm.
It was always there in its
Yeah.
own different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, of course, you accumulate all these informations and everything, and in the end, you need to like go back to feeling things, really, like rather than just thinking them. But it's a
Yeah,
nice combo. Like if you
yeah,
can really feel your heart and like feel through things, but also know them. I think it's a powerful combination.
yeah, 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 exactly. And I think when you explore that, when you have that knowing, I want to know, I think it also somewhere helps to explore your own feelings, your own emotions at the same
Mm,
time. That how you relate with your emotions, your own feelings. How do you feel about certain things, and how do you not feel about certain things? So I think it's a gift. I would rather say it's a gift
yeah,
from universe, from divine, from nature, whatever you want to call
absolutely. Yeah, it's almost even a gift to be a black sheep of the family, to be that crazy curious one that wants to
it.
know everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly,
perhaps
exactly,
perhaps the
exactly.
first one in my one. You said nobody was really spiritual in your family either, so yeah.
No, no, no. I had like there were spiritual people, but I don't think somebody has been as much of a like I like for me, I take deep interest in spiritual subjects. Like I will read about it. I would research about it. I'll go full on, like to like really,
Yeah.
really properly read about it. And I'll ask 10 questions. Where are you picking up? Quote the source. Tell me how this happens. Tell me how this does not happen. I go on that, that again, that childhood, that factor comes into play. That inquisitiveness. Oh, tell me this, tell me this. I'll go on reading for 1 hour or half an hour, about 2 hours, sometimes two and a half, half a day, I would just keep reading. If I have time, I'll go on deep into it, you know. And
Yeah.
other people in my family are like, have not been on that similar kind of a frequency as I've been there. I don't know. I mean, it has been a very natural thing for me. It has come very natural flowing to me. It's not something that somebody has taught me to be. Of course, some parts
Mm,
of it, my grandfather, like, was the one who I would say the first spiritual teacher for me because he taught me certain
mm.
hymns, that we
Oh,
do, like the Hanuman Chalisa.
uh-huh.
That's a very famous hymn in the praise of Hanuman and
Yeah.
chanting the name of Rama with it, Rama, Shri Ram, and all like that. And the prayers to Goddess Saraswati, who's the goddess of knowledge and education and arts, all of that. So these two, three things were the initial things that my grandfather was the one who introduced me because he would sit every day, he would take a bath, and whenever he would go and sit in the our home altar, home shrine temple, he would sit and make me sit in his lap, and he would read all of those hymns, and he would make me read with him. And I remember I was just
Oh,
two and a
that's
half or
great.
3-year-old child. I would, in that broken language, I would chant the Hanuman Chalisa and all of that stuff. And it was so funny, and at the same time, it was such an attraction for people. I still remember very clearly. So many of our family, friends, and relatives would come, and everybody would come and tell, "Oh, come here, sit with me. Okay, chant the Hanuman Chalisa. Uh, Tell us how do you chant it?" And I would just go on. I would just quickly begin, Jai Hanuman, and I'd
Oh.
go on that. My record would just open up and would just start blurting it out. So it was very funny, but it was very fun at the same time. And I would say that because of grandfather, because Hanuman, I was a famous child because of that, I could say.
The
So,
monkey god, right?
so yeah,
That
yeah,
is the
yeah, yeah,
monkey
yeah,
god. I love Hanuman.
yeah,
I love it. I love the
the,
story. But that's I think the Chinese one, the Journey to the West. Um, they have the similar god. Actually, it's probably the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
same god.
I think,
It's not named. What's the name of the?
I
It
think
has the
it's that
Chinese
the
name.
god. I think he's named as Wukong or something like that. I think
Wukong.
they've also
Yes.
made a game.
Yes.
They've also made a game on
Yes. They
that.
made a
That's
game.
that's trending these
Yes.
days. Black
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wukong and all of that. It's like it's a
Yeah.
rage all across Facebook and YouTube. You see that game going on.
I've watched the TV series, the TV show, the Journey to the West, but the old one that was recorded long time ago, and I really loved it. But they were on the way to India to get the sutras from India, so it is definitely connected. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But in India, but you'll also find Hanuman, by the way, since you've touched upon it, you'll also find him in other parts of Asia. You'll find him in
Mm,
Thailand, you'll also find him in Indonesia, you'll also find him other countries, Java, Sumatra, you'll find him over
mm,
there, uh, his shrines and people enacting the whole Ramayana. And the
mm.
way they look at Hanuman is slightly different than how he is looked at in
It
India.
adapts.
And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, his traits, he's almost, of course, he's the same, the monkey-like features and all of that. But yes, actually, if you look at in the original text, and they say that Hanuman is not exactly a monkey per se, but he comes from a tribe. It's a jungle tribe, which is very
Mm-hmm.
famous for its strength. And because they're tribal people, so their features are monkey-like. They're not a
Yeah.
complete monkey. But yes, the archetype, the way the masters, the rishis, the saints, they cognized Hanuman was in the
Mm,
format of a which was akin to a monkey, right?
mm.
Because monkeys are very energetic, very active.
Yeah.
So Hanuman is a very active deity, very energetic
Yeah.
and powerful,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when you read his stories, you'll find all of wonderful tales about Hanuman, and some of them are so heartwarming. The way
Yeah.
they say that Hanuman is the epitome of devotion, the highest
Mm,
devotion to the divine that you can
mm,
see, that one can actually cognize. Hanuman is that, and he's the epitome of strength. There's
mm,
a even in Ramayana, there are different versions of Ramayana, but there is a couplet. There's a couplet in one version of Ramayana which was written by Tulsidas. I mean, they say that it says that there is no such work or act in this entire universe. Oh, Hanuman, you're so great, you're so powerful that there is nothing that you cannot do. And
mm,
to that great power that you symbolize, I bow down.
Mm.
He's like there's so many such shlokas in such about Hanuman,
You have so
and
many
it's
great
wonderful. It's just
so many great traditions. I wish West has something. We have nothing.
No, I think, see, West has its own ways again. But as you shared, earlier that so much got sort of mixed up, sort of got
Lost.
lost
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
But of course,
Mm.
the West has had its own cultures and traditions of
Of course. No.
the Greek culture, the Roman culture. But of course, I think somewhere with history, it has been lost, and misunderstood, misinterpreted, and lost in its
It
own
did
way. But
evolve,
yeah,
like it evolved into science, and like
yeah,
it evolved into other things, which is great. That's what
mm,
it's supposed to do. But I
yeah,
would say maybe just the spirituality got lost on the way somehow. The real spirituality, like where you would actually work on your spiritual side of yourself rather than just
yeah,
pray and hope. And in a way, like you have this whole tradition of yoga and really like
yeah,
balancing your spiritual body and balancing you know, every other body that you have. Like you have the mental one, you have the physical one, you have the spiritual
yeah,
one. And
yes,
it's all about the balance of all of these for a human to be like
yeah, yeah.
complete. And we kind of
Yes,
forgot about
yes,
that.
yes.
We like our brains too much, I think. We like our mental part too much, so we
Yeah,
forgot about everything else,
yeah.
and that's also
Hmm.
bringing this
It's
balance.
hmm, hmm. Yeah, so it's always been in these yogic traditions, it's always been an integration of all human faculties. It's not just the
Yes,
brain, but it's also the
yeah,
heart. It's also the breath. It's also the memory, the intellect, the ego. Even ego is not considered bad. It is
no,
looked at if ego is not there, your body will disintegrate. It's
exactly,
because ego is there, your body is there.
yeah,
It's because ego is there, you're able to identify yourselves and look at your hands and connect with your body. Otherwise, you can't exist
yeah,
because if the ego is not there. So, yeah, I mean, from that perspective, uh, it's a very wholesome lens, and
yes,
uh, how a human being functions, or can function, or must function, so to say.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's what's needed. You can't, it's only
Yeah,
one thing. Only working on your intellect will not bring you far. um and and ego,
yeah,
of course, like it is so needed, but obviously if you
yeah.
deny the entire concept of it, you might get into its trap.
That's another ego, by the way. Oh,
Yes.
I've won my ego. That's another ego.
Yeah.
That's another
Very
ego.
important.
Oh, you know what? I mean, there are people. It's like so funny. You'll see people writing and claiming, "I've won my ego." My dear, you're already in another ego trap. You're not
Yes,
even realizing I won my
you
ego.
got
Okay.
into the other trap. It's like self-proclaiming that you're so good. It is an ego thing. So you're
It's
jumping
the it's the,
in the
it's the spider's web. It's the spider's web, by the way.
yes,
The spider
exactly. You're
weaving
gone.
its the spider weaving its web and getting stuck in its own web. It's,
Yeah,
it's that
yeah,
it's that it's that that kind of a thing.
yeah. Instead of like fighting against ego, better work with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Gosh,
yeah,
we have so many subjects we
completely.
could talk about. Like, this is crazy. So I think we're
Yeah,
kind of at the end of feminine, masculine topic, and
yeah,
we pretty much said everything important. I'd say,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Yeah, I'll just say this that if I talk about like how if I look at it again from the systemic family constellations lens, and yes, I've most of the people I work with, the clients I work with, are women, by the way. Men somehow tend to show up less in this space because
They come
a
to
lot
me.
of men I've seen amongst they come to
I
you,
have
yeah.
all male clients are like 90% of people that are coming
Right.
to.
Right, right. So it's the opposite in my case. But yes, uh, I do see that those aspects of women rejecting their own femininity, of struggling with their own femininity, of being so angry at themselves for who they are, how they are, what they are, right? And then all of it getting projected in their relationships, in with the kind of partners they have or they are trying to have in their life, because they're in that constant dilemma, confusion, that internal conflict, that there is something wrong with me, you know. So when uh, this cycle starts, that something is wrong with me, it flips into rage, that something is wrong with me, so I have to be angry at myself. I am the one who is suffering. I am the one who's responsible for my suffering. And my mother, grandmother were such witches. I should push them out. They taught me nothing. And you men, you are the, so you see, one thing leads to another. That rejection of your own femininity, helplessness turns you. So, as they say, the victim turns into a perpetrator. That's what happens in so many scenarios. And if not today, then tomorrow or some days later, it is bound to happen. And in case of, yes, it's not that men do not show up at all, but they show up in fewer numbers, if I have to look at it. And from what I've observed is again that difficulty to express, who am I? What am I? And that emasculation happening with mother, excessive doting by the mother. Oh, my son, my son, my son, you know. And uh, it's so common for guys, for boys, for men to reject their fathers. And because previous generation, father rejected his father, and in this third or fourth generation, the same dynamic is just repeating. The man is rejecting his masculinity because he rejects his father.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in turn, when he rejects, he simply absorbs or he creates his father's anger in himself. What
Yeah.
his father could not do, he also gets enmeshed and entangled, and he also starts failing in that sense,
Yeah.
just the way the father failed. So, you see that, it's happening in both the sides. And I think uh, I would encourage everyone who's watching it right now or who will watch it later, please, please get yourself, take help from us constellation practitioners. We are here to hold space for you. This work, this practice is only and only going to add so much value to you. It's an art. Constellation work is an art. And when you dip your brush in this art, beautiful life art can be created out of it. Give yourself that chance and opportunity to do this work, is all I can say. And yes, I can assure the interactions I've had with Anna. Anna is an amazing practitioner. She is the, she has such rich exposure to music, psychology, spirituality, and she brings it all to this table. And if you're working with her, if you want to work with her, don't think twice about it. Just go and work with her.
Thank you so much.
Is all I can say. These are my closing words.
No, I think the same about you. You have such a warm energy and such a comforting, warm, safe energy to yourself. Like
Thank you.
that is very rare. Very rare.
Thank
It's
you.
not something that you
Thank you.
meet very often. And it's so much needed in
Thank you.
this world. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I don't know what really to add. Like, as I was saying, most of my clients are men that are so helpless and so lost. And
Yeah.
you have so much struggle with themselves, with reclaiming their power, reclaiming their self-confidence, and even so scared to approach women because they've been hurt by women so much that it really changed my way of thinking about things. And I started really to feel empathy towards
Mm,
them and to feel that kind of suffering. um it is the same place where women were put in, and it's not right that we do the same to the men that weren't actually the ones responsible for our suffering as well. I think that's a very important point to say. So if men were hurting women, it's not this
Hmm.
generation of men, it was the previous ones. So there is no reason to feel the anger towards the men that are actually also suffering. They're suffering as well. And
Yeah.
without feeling of
Hmm.
self-confidence, without that healthy ego, even without that kind of feeling in the center of yourself, like you own your life, you can't really go through life. And this is what we're removing from young men at the moment. And it is
Yeah.
awfully destructive.
Yeah.
And it's destructive for women as well. So we need to find a way to
Yeah.
coexist together and to create together and to bring the pendulum to the middle. You know, it was here, now it's
Yeah.
here. We need to
Yeah.
bring it
Hmm.
back to the middle.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do that
Yeah.
until it's
Yeah.
late, until the
Yeah.
the scenario that you were mentioning when there's less and less men in the world happens, because
We don't want that. We
we
don't want
don't
that.
want
And
that.
I think scientific research is in its own place.
Yeah.
Uh, and I wouldn't be fatalistic about it.
Mm,
That, oh, this research has come out of this is the God's word, or this is some heaven sent word, and this is how it should be, how
mm,
has to be. No, that's where I said, let's use let's use our common sense, put our brains together and hearts together. Let's create such spaces where men heal, women heal,
yeah.
and where society heals together, grows together, and not in, let's drop this. Um, it applies to all of, I mean, it is also applying to me when I'm saying this, that, let's drop this. Uh, let's try to do better each day.
Yeah.
Let's do it one step each day.
I
I'm not
think
even
there
saying that you
also,
will do it in,
yeah, I think
yeah,
there also needs to be clear intention of what you're
yeah,
looking for in a relationship and what you are willing to give. Because I think there's a lot of clear intentions on both male and female sides of what we want, but there is not a lot about what we are wanting to offer and what we are willing to give. And if you're,
mm,
enter in a relationship with all this I want, it's not a great way to start a relationship, I think. And this
mm,
is very much
mm.
sold to women nowadays. There's this whole, the feminism brought this, like, you deserve better, you deserve the best sister, you deserve this, you deserve that, all men are like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
what are you bringing to the table as well? It's like you need to
yeah,
grow as a
yeah,
person as well. If you got this, equality, if you got this freedom and you got this right to build yourself as a person, you are also bringing something to the table. So don't think about just
yeah,
what you're looking for, but also what you're offering. I think
yeah,
that's fair.
yeah, yeah, mm, yeah.
I mean,
So
men had to do
I
this for
recall,
a while. Men had to do, like, oh, I have a
yeah,
house in which you can live, I have a job, and you would come to the your partner's father and say, look, I have enough to take care of your daughter, right? So will you give me her hand? This was the traditional way, right? um Now it's no more, but like men always had this idea that they need to offer something, right? And that was normal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nowadays, I think even sometimes even men struggle with that. But I
Yeah,
think, see, all said and done, sometimes there are certain life situations and circumstances where one might not be, in terms of resources, where one might not be that great. For
it's not
example,
necessary.
right?
Yeah,
But if he, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, times change. People also change for the better. Uh,
it's not about
I
material
have heard stories
possessions.
like, as
Yeah,
we were discussing.
it's not
Yeah,
about just
yeah,
material
yeah,
possessions. It
yeah.
would be like,
Even see,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
offering security in the form of emotional security, or I'm offering, this and that. But
Yeah,
there needs to be some kind of sense of what I'm willing to give rather than just
yeah,
take,
yeah, yeah.
because we're in the taking phase now.
Yeah,
We're like,
exactly, exactly. Hmm. See, even if one considers the material security, and I understand material security needs to be there. You need to take care of the money and income, everything. It's an important part of life. We cannot deny it. And no,
exactly.
we are not denying it. But at the same time, it's so important, slightly more than that, to have that emotional connect, support, understanding. Because a little less money, you can still make good with. You
Exactly.
can, over time, you can increase, you can improve your finances.
Yeah.
But if the heart is lacking, understanding is lacking, if that is not mended, if that is not set right, even if you are the greatest millionaire on this planet,
Hmm.
of the woman or the guy, you are going to suffer.
Yeah.
It's going to create trouble.
We have a quote in Croatia, but I don't even know
It's
how
going to
to
create trouble.
translate it. It's kind of like that: the brothers that are really well with each other, they build a house, and the ones that are not, they disintegrate, like they disassemble the house. It's like if you're together, you can build things, but like if you don't have that togetherness, you're not able to build anything. You actually destroy what you have
Yeah.
already. Mm.
Even exactly, exactly. See, there are even one example to also this is that so many times, even in India, in the previous generations we're talking, there are so many couples and people I've seen, people of our grandparents' age, who like literally started their lives from scratch. They
Mm.
built their lives from scratch,
Yeah.
and the wife supported the husband fully
Mm.
and lovingly. And it's not that
Mm.
the husband did not, the husband also provided well for the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
It's
are
the
so many
intention.
such beautiful stories that even in
Yeah.
today's world, even in today's world, you get to hear such stories. But I know somehow these stories don't come to the forefront, and
No, it's just the
many
bad
people
ones.
have some very weird expectations. Yeah, 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 bad ones.
No.
And many people have these weird expectations, like, on the lines of this and that, and they're so stuck up on just the money and the resource part of a relationship that they forget what is actually at the core of it, that is more essential. So, yeah,
Mm.
I mean, that's that is something that really needs to that perspective needs to be brought in more.
Yeah. We always say in therapy that men
Yeah.
create space, a woman fills it up. It's a nice
There you
analogy. I
go.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
And I think both
Okay.
are
I
creating the space together. Like, it's like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
mutual effort. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that I am only doing this so much. Oh, what are you doing? Or oh, I'm doing it. It's not that. It's a mutual effort always.
It is, especially nowadays, especially in the West. There's no, there's rare options now where a woman does not work or does not contribute to the family in a material way, and I think that's okay. I don't mind that. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to work and to create career for myself and all that, and in a way, let's say in modern society, a woman has to take a bit of masculine energy in her, and it's the same with men. But still, you know, when it gets to the too much, then it's destructive. Tiny bit, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings more
Yeah.
action into your life. You're able to, you know, get the good male qualities in you. But the problem becomes when the roles switch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see that you
Yeah.
have issues with
Yeah.
ending things
The
same as me.
extreme of
So,
anything
so,
is
so we could go on forever with this.
yeah.
I've been said by my therapist, like, Anna, you need to find ways to end conversations. And I was like, oh my God, no. Terrifying.
Right.
Yeah, but
So I
it
think
was
we
a,
are right here. I think it's a good point to. I think we can close this now. I think that we have also
yes.
had summarized the points. We've had the last thoughts around this, and I think it's a good
Hmm.
point that we can close now.
Yeah, and this was amazing. I really enjoyed this. This was probably one of my
Same
favorite
here.
podcasts so far.
Ditto.
Anyways, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me. And I know it's probably like 1 a.m. in India now. Is it? Is it
Yeah, yeah.
more?
Little
Oh
more
my
than that.
gosh. Oh no. I'm so sorry. So sorry for keeping you up that late.
But that's okay.
Uh
I mean, see, no, I think, see, when you enjoy a subject, when you enjoy the work that you do, and when you know that it brings so much value to this world in so many different ways, sometimes time also transcends,
yeah,
you know,
disappears.
your
Yeah. I can't
because
believe
your
I think we were
heart,
talking
your heart and soul is into it.
2.5 hours, I think we talked, believe it or not. It felt like it was
Yeah.
15 minutes to me. Yeah, we transcended time in this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for
Indeed.
coming in,
Indeed.
and
Indeed.
hopefully we meet again with some other interesting subjects. And I'll leave your details in the description of the
Sure.
video, so
Sure.
anyone who wants to have a nice, amazing constellation work done, this is the person to go to. And yeah,
Sure.
I think
And
you're
even
more than
you,
a
for that matter.
yeah, you're more than a
Even
family
you.
constellator. Like you have something else. There's something even deeper in you. And yeah, that was that for today. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, please do subscribe to the channel and like the video. And I will see you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.